Right now, protesters are rallying outside Gateway Church in Southlake after a scandal rocked that congregation and community.
And I want to say to you, Cindy, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so it's just becoming more and more apparent that things are not what they seem. And, you know, as the story just develops, it's getting bigger and bigger. That's the thing. The story's getting bigger and bigger. It's almost like it's been an avalanche of news.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're dealing with now. And so we're going to start with this statement from the elders, one of the elders at, well, it's two in the whole video, but we're not going to get to that whole portion. But Gateway Church actually issued a statement, all right? And they had an event on Saturday evening. That was yesterday at the time of this recording. They had an event, and the elder, one of the elders, made a statement addressing the issue, which we're going to take a look at now.
My name is Trey Banks, and I'm here to speak to you on behalf of the Gateway elders. I really wish that I could sit down with each one of you individually and talk to you one-on-one. Standing before you right now may be the most difficult thing I've ever had to do. So I ask for your grace as I speak to you today, because I'm going to speak to you personally, as a father, as a husband, and a non-staff elder since 2014. I'm going to try to speak to you from my heart today, so I wrote my thoughts down to make sure I say exactly what I want to say. My wife, Shelley, and I have 7 children, including 6 girls. As a father, what has happened is extremely disturbing, and I'm experiencing a wide range of emotions like you. As an elder, I did not know the truth, and frankly, like so many of you, my wife and I are shocked, devastated, and grieving. Firstly, I'd like to express my personal compassion for Cindy Clemenshire. I can't imagine carrying a burden like that for so many years. And I want to say to you, Cindy, I'm so sorry. I'm also very sensitive to anyone else in this room or anyone who is listening who's experienced abuse. I know that there are many in this room, at our other campuses, and many watching online who have their own horrific abuse story. And I want to speak to you. I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry. I cannot imagine the pain and the emotions that this past week has stirred inside of you as you felt betrayed. And on behalf of the elders, we're sorry. This past week, the Board of Elders accepted the resignation of our senior pastor, Robert Morris. Our tagline at Gateway Church is, we're all about people. And you can't be all about people if you aren't committed to protecting people. We are committed to protecting people. First and foremost, children and the most vulnerable. Simply put, abuse in any form cannot be tolerated. And we as elders have the responsibility to do whatever it takes to learn the truth. And I want you to know that as your elders, we are deeply committed to walking in integrity and finding the truth. We moved quickly this week to hire an independent outside law firm to conduct a comprehensive and independent inquiry into this entire situation. The elders and you must know the facts, and we must enforce accountability. Having this review completed by an independent outside organization is critical, and we will report back to you once their work is complete. And please know that the Board of Elders is fully cooperating with this independent work, which has already begun. And I ask that we all be patient while we give them time to do their work.
All right, y'all. So that is one of the elders from Gateway Church, and he has made this statement. Of course, they had to say something. There's no way that they couldn't have said anything. And they had to say something with the amount of attention that this story has garnered from the media and the public. They had to say something. And so far, I mean, there's general, people feel different ways about the statement. Initial thoughts on that statement right there?
Yeah, the statement, whatever he said, I think he was contrite. He sounded very remorseful and very believable. I just wish this was at the bare minimum if it was the senior pastor issuing this statement, which happens to be James Morris, who is the son of Robert Morris. So maybe if he had come in, like, yes, I'm a senior pastor of this church, whatever is happening, for good or bad, we take responsibility. Right now, my father cannot be here on this stage. As you know, he resigned, but I am speaking on behalf of this congregation, just to assure the audience, to assure their congregation. I think it would have carried weight, given James Morris being the son.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point, that why was the statement not made by the senior pastor, who is the son? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't look good. Of course, he wants to distance himself from the story. Maybe there's a thought that if he makes the statement, it's going to be a bit of a distraction as well, that because it's coming from him, it might be a distraction. But if we're dealing with just the church itself, forget about the public perception, just based on the church itself, it would make the most sense if the senior pastor makes that statement, because it is such an important thing for the church to speak about and to know about, and I'm with you. I think as far as the independent investigations and stuff, I'm with you on that. I think that there is, I understand why they're doing it. I don't think it's necessary, but I understand why they're doing it, because at this point they dropped the ball in so many other areas, and there's so many things that were not done correctly as far as, their lack of knowledge of Robert Morris's affairs, the things that he was doing. And so at this point, it's like, okay, let's just come back and do this massive correction, even if it looks like overcorrection, by getting an outside firm and doing all these things. They just want to look like they have made every effort to right the wrongs that have been done. So let's move on to another thing that happened over the weekend at Gateway Church, and that was the fact that there were people actually protesting.
Yes.
Right now, protesters are rallying outside Gateway Church in Southlake after a scandal rocked that congregation and community. The demonstrators are calling attention to Pastor Robert Morris's resignation over allegations he molested a 12-year-old girl decades ago. The victim says the abuse happened in the 1980s, but she just came forward with her story. And her supporters rallied outside Gateway this afternoon, urging any other potential victims to come forward.
There's no time frame on when is the right time for a victim to tell their story. We all grieve differently. Some grieve right away and want to tell right away, and some don't. So she has done nothing wrong.
Now, as people were protesting outside, Gateway was holding its regular Saturday evening service. And during that service, an elder addressed the issue.
And I want to speak to you. I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry. I cannot imagine the pain and the emotions that this past week has stirred inside of you as you felt betrayed. And on behalf of the elders, we're sorry.
That is the news clip showing the protests that took place out there. It's pretty wild that they had these protests going on there, but it's to be expected. To be expected that this would have occurred out there. I do find the statement that one of the lady who they asked said interesting when she said there is no, because this question keeps coming up, right? It's like, okay, why 30 years later? Why so long? Why 35 years later? Why are we talking about this now? Why is this case coming up? And the lady said that there is no time limit for somebody to come forth and essentially tell their story and reveal things that may have happened to them. And, in that, I would say I agree. I agree that I think that it may have taken a long time for us to hear about it, because that's the other part. It's not like these things were hidden to certain parties, right? But we get to hear about it so much decades later, because there was a cover-up. Because of the cover-up we get to hear about it decades later. It's not like she never spoke about it. But I found that interesting, and I do think, in a sense, there is there's the biblical precedent that sin is sin, right? So you're gonna pay for that sin, at some point, right? You're gonna pay for that sin at some point, and if you're not in Christ, then you have to, you're gonna pay for that. No matter what you did, no matter when you did it, when the time comes for you to be judged for that thing, you're going to be judged for it. And so if that's the case, then I think that it's well and good for somebody to come forth, no matter how long it's been, if it's now a burden to them to say, you know what, I need to tell this story.
Yeah. My thing to me would be, I think it's good to encourage people to share that as soon as possible, to bring it to attention as soon as possible. Because we know, people don't want to say something because they're thinking if they say something, nobody's going to believe them. If they say something, they might be ashamed. That's why they don't want to bring it up. But if we create environment, the culture where we are sharing these things, right? Because we are to confess our sins to one another, we are to share each other's burdens. This can foster an environment where these things can be found out quickly, because we know, right, there will be a statute of limitation that's going to expire. So the sooner you come out, the sooner you can get help, the sooner that person is going to be found. That way he's not going to do that to other people. Because for 35 years, right, everybody's questioning, was this the only incident? You see what I'm saying? But if the sooner the person is found, the sooner the person is, quote unquote, locked up, they face their charges, they have no time to be doing all those things. We understand if people want to sin, they'll find ways to sin, but we need to be encouraging these things like purge the evil among you. And then this idea of, quote unquote, this tradition that we have created, restoration. So this guy was restored to an office of an elder. We all trust our pastors. You see what I'm saying? So now he's being trusted with that office, and this is the damage that this guy was done, right? Because, quote unquote, he was restored back to the ministry. He saved his 2 years, whatever the case may be. No. You violated that office, you have to go. Okay, you have to go. There are so many other men who can fulfill that particular pulpit. Why should we be beholding to one person simply because they're charismatic or whatever the case may be?
Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I would love to hear from y'all. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And if then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. All right. God bless y'all, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.